So that's just some nasty plugs, those 4 bales on top, and then some old hay underneath that, and then all them logs and trees that got blown over a month or 2 ago in that storm. So let that burn before it gets too dry. So how's everybody doing today? It's Thursday, July 25th, and I haven't filmed anything in the last few days just because I'm exhausted. I just get home like at 10:30 every night and just want to hurry up and go to bed. So let's see. So in the last couple of days, so all day yesterday, Wes and Jeremy, they built a bunch of cut a bunch of dry hay. They didn't build it, they cut a bunch of dry hay, like this right here, and a bunch of fields just right on the other side of the creek, and neighbor's place. They're actually over there cutting right now. Yesterday I was on the little dozer and I was gonna fill it up with diesel, and my foot slipped and knocked the old barn down in a perfect little pile. So my bad. But anyway, finally got that all piled up. The tin that's in that is just from the roof because we couldn't get it, and then you can see right here over the diesel tank. Hang on. So you can see right there over the diesel tank, the tin that we pulled off the walls. Got all that piled up there. There's some more in the back. So I got that all piled up. Also, I worked on the exit lane out of the feed lane. I mean, that looks like it's all back to normal and pretty looking. There was 2 more dump truck loads to smooth out. And then the piles that we made back in the, let's see, when was that? Early spring, where we were just scraping the mud off. I got all those smoothed back out, and they were pretty much dry all the way through, but they got a little more drying before we could drag tires or anything like that over it and get the final smooth area. We get the area finally smoothed all back up. So because I don't have enough bays, we got, you know, corn, soybean meal, corn gluten, soy holes, and I got my milk cow mineral in the soy holes, and then I got dry cow and heifer in the bags there in front of the corn gluten. I have a load of DDG coming. It should have been here a couple days ago when this soybean meal showed up, but it didn't make it. It should be here in about 3 hours. So I need to pull out all this soybean meal, or basically knock it down to where we can unload the DDG into it later, and I can kind of mix it as we unload it. So this soybean meal came in on a hopper. The DDG's coming in on a hopper. So the soybean meal and the DDG, they both came on a hopper trailer. So we got to unload a little bit, push it in, unload a little bit, push it in. So I kind of halfway pushed this in 2 days ago. And then right now I'm just going to make a pile out here, and then I'm going to spread the rest of it across the ground, across the floor, concrete. And then when the trailer comes in, we'll just spread out across the top of it and get them all mixed in real good. So I'm going to go ahead and get this unloaded, and then I'm going to take the bucket off, put the fork on, and then we got some plugs to unload off a semi-trailer, some dry hay bales. What we did is the hay field across town, we finished it 2 days ago. We baled 175 bales the last day. Got them all but 20 of them wrapped that night. Finished like at 10:30 or so. Finally finished off a line. They had to move the wrapper and all that, and there was 20 bales left on the trailer, and I was like, yeah, I'll just do that in the morning. So finished it yesterday morning, all the wrapping. And then there was a few acres that were in low areas that we left the first cutting, and so those got cut for dry hay, just because they're pretty nasty grass, you know, some dead ryegrass and all that, just a bunch of junk. And then so we went out there today and baled that. It made like 22 bales is all. And then so they baled them the exact same size that we baled the bales of baleage so that we could use those bales for plugs. So we'll go unload those up there about pretty close to where we're wrapping, so they're handy, and then that'll be done. And let's see, and then I'm going to set out silage bales for feed in the morning while I have the fork on. On Tuesday, did end up getting another like completely full load of tires in the cow trailer, and so now the corn silage pile's got plenty of tires on it. It's all nice and tight, plastic and everything. They're not touching each other, but they're still, I mean, it's pretty good considering it was just tires that we could find. I didn't have to pay for them or nothing, so that's good. On the cow side of things, I had a couple days ago I had 24 cows go dry, and then this morning I had another 27 cows go dry. So just in this last week we dried off 51 cows. We're down to milking 405 cows right now, with 158 cows dry. So, and then also in the dry cows got that group of 60 heifers, so there's 210, 220 head in the dry cows. So theoretically, today being July 25th, and we're going to have a few cows start calving early. So, you know, usually a week or so early they'll start calving. So that'd give us about 30 days or so, and we'll start having some calves on the ground and getting fresh cows back in the barn. But at the end of this month, we're supposed to be down to about 310, 315 milking. And then by the end of the month, we're back to 400 something. And that's with drying cows off still too. So the first 30 days is supposed to be like 154 head calved altogether. So and I think there's like 80 dry cows to go dry in that same 30 days. Anyway. Basically in the next 30 days we need to move all the calf hutches and line them all back up and get them ready for calves, and then we got to make a close-up group here in the next 2 weeks, probably in 2 weeks. Well, it always seems at the beginning we have to do it a little earlier than we want to, just because the dry cow group's getting too big. Like right now, if we're not feeding them nothing, they're just grazing. But if they came in on the feed lane, they wouldn't be able to fit all on one side. I'd have to split them on each side. So that's not that fun to do, because we only hold 205 cows on each side of the feed lane. So there's 220 or so, and I just looked, I think in today's Thursday, and I think it was Tuesday, I got 20 more cows to go dry. So maybe 240 pretty quick. But theoretically in 2 weeks or so you'd make a close-up group and start feeding them pretty good and getting them ready to come back in the barn again. But like I was saying, we may have to do it a little sooner, just because of the sheer amount of cows that are out in the dry cow pasture right now. When you get to that many cows, it gets harder to give them enough grass with that many head in there. But we'll just have to pay attention to that and stay focused on it, and you know, and just be ready to go ahead and start a close-up group. So that's about 23 tons of 23 tons of soybean meal sitting right there in that pile. Just had a load of corn show up, so I'm gonna go ahead and knock this corn down too, get it up to the front. Just pulled in the driveway. Alright, well, so this is ground corn. I just drug it down where it's, you know, about a foot deep all the way from the front to the back. And then that way the trailer can still back up over it and then dump on top of it. And this stuff that's been in the back for a while will be up towards the front so it can be fed out instead of just being piled back up onto. So we're gonna get out of his way and let him unload. And then we'll go put the fork on here in just a second. So we're unloading the last two bales of these plugs that were built today. So this came off that field across town. That's 125 acres. And if you remember in the previous video where I said that it's going to make about 4 bales an acre, which should be about 475 bales. I might be off a bale or two, but I think counting these plugs, it made 468 bales. So it was almost what I said. But so we got these. Well, those 3 good bales over there. That's just a little bale. I have to just do something else with it. But got these bales here for plugs. And something I started doing last year was putting 2 dry bales on the end to try to keep the last bale of baleage pretty good. Because the last bale of if you do 1 plug, then the last bale of baleage usually ends up kind of rotted, or at least half rotted. I don't know if it's because it's up against that dry bale and it's able to somehow get air. I don't really know. But anyway, so last year, as like a test, I started putting 2 bales in, and they seemed to be, that last bale of baleage seemed to be a lot better. So if you remember when we brought the wrapper out here and there wasn't any hay out here, so now we got 4 full lines of about 120 bales, and then we got the 5th line started with 20 bales in it already. So we're gonna go set out some bales of baleage. You've seen that before. Not very interesting. And then we'll see what we gotta do after that. You gotta check this truck out. It's a Peterbilt. He told me what was in it, but it's way over my head. Sounds freaking awesome. Let me get you pulled up here. He's about to get back in it. Hang on. This door slamming. he overshot the concrete out there in the front. Figured I better do some explaining for you guys that have never messed with feed before. So the soybean meal, when it came a couple days ago, it was almost just as hard to come out as this DDG is, and or this DDG is being hard to get out. And then so the soybean meal and the DDG both came from Kansas, so they got loaded probably, my guess is yesterday morning or so. And then, or well, the DDG did. And what DDG is dried distiller's green. So probably more than likely from an ethanol plant, or you know, making alcohol. But yeah. So if I'm not really sure, I guess it's the oils in these two feeds, and then and that they're finally ground up. So for whatever reason, they sit on a trailer long enough, they get like packed in like rocks, and then like set up like bricks. So especially in hot weather, so you got the heat, the long drive, the bouncing of the trailer, all that stuff. It's like set up in the trailer like bricks, so we're having to beat it out. And then that's why, I mean, he probably normally wouldn't be driving like that, but what he's doing, he's trying to gun it and slam on the brakes to get it to shake loose and fall out. Because we hit on it a whole bunch with a hammer on the side of the trailer, and then so it made a little hole in the center, but it was still all stuck up on the walls inside of the where it cones down. So that's what he was doing, was slamming on the brakes to make it slide on out. So we got the back one empty now, and we still got the front one to go. And he overshot the concrete a little bit right there, a good 5 feet off the concrete, so we'll have to get all that shoveled in and swept up, and then get the rest of this pushed in. Let's see. Oh, and then the other thing I probably need to explain is why I'm mixing the DDG and the soybean meal together. And if you remember a few months ago, I talked about, well, we used to get the 3-way mix, which was corn gluten, soy hulls, and DDG. And that was working great. And it had its own bay. And but what I figured out was they ended up charging us like $30 a ton to mix it. It may have actually at one point been a little bit more than that. So prices had come down on the feed, but they never changed their price. They just left it the same and were charging us to mix it that way. And I tried to convince her to come down on price, but she said she couldn't do it. And the sales rep, and you know, so now we're getting them all separate. In the first bay we got the soy hulls, second bay got corn gluten, and then because of them both being fine ground stuff, we're putting the DDG and the soybean meal together, and also because we like to, or the ration calls for them to be about fed as the same amount, so we can just feed about 4 pounds of this and get 2 pounds of each ingredient, theoretically, depending on how well I mix it. But it's a little bit hard to mix together, but I mean, I shouldn't be too far off from being 50-50. So anyway, that explains all this of why we're doing it like this, and then why he's driving his truck like a crazy person. And he said he had well, I don't remember exactly what he said was in that truck, but anyways, pretty awesome truck. But I think he's got what looks like 8-inch straight pipes. And yeah, anyway, so I can get this pushed in and then get the front unloaded, which is gonna have to be pounded out. Freaking hate hopper bottoms. So we had that load of ground corn earlier today, or this afternoon. We had that load of soybean meal, and then the load of DDG, or the soybean meal came 2 days ago, and the DDG came today, obviously. And so that's 2 full loads there. I only fed very little of the soybean meal, just basically this morning, and yeah, just this morning. So that's all done, and put this broom up. Now, there's a funny story on the barn. Oh, watch out for the broom. Almost got you. So now the funny story on the barn here is I thought, oh, I'll be right here this afternoon. Wind's not blowing too hard. Go ahead and set it on fire. It ain't gonna burn too bad, but I'm pretty smart, so I went and got a water hose first. Hooked the water hose up just in case, and I set it on fire, and it didn't even do anything. Like you're trying to light a end of a stick on fire, it wouldn't even burn. And then so I was like, oh Jesus Christ. So kept messing with it, and all of a sudden it just like started shooting 15-foot flames up in the air, and was just like hauling ass across the pile. So I was like, oh crap. And then Jason was hauling manure today, so I called him and told him to hurry up and get down here. And I actually pulled the pin on the god dang it, spread plate. Watch out now. So I pulled the pin on the spread plate, and I don't know where I threw it, but it's somewhere right around in this area. And then so we ended up starting to put some watery manure on it to try to get it to calm down. And then Wes called me because, like I said, him and Jeremy were just on the other side of the creek cutting, and he asked, "What is all that black smoke?" And then I was like, "Well, I set the barn on fire, and it's kind of going a little hotter than I thought." Like that pipe over there was sizzling, and it wasn't even it wasn't even that close. But anyway, pipe was still sizzling. And then so Wes and Jeremy came over here, and then they were changing the nozzle on the back of the tank, and Jason was driving the 7800 and would build up pressure and shoot manure on it. It was basically water, and then I was running around with a water hose trying to get it to calm down. It never actually went completely out, but sent Jason, or ran that first 4,000 gallons, and then Jason went back and filled it up again. And before he got back, it really took off again. So backed him in over there and shot it over again, and basically almost had it put out. And then Wes hopped on the little dozer and pushed it all up and a little further away from everything. And then it's been burning like this for a while. Had to run the water hose on it a little bit because it was getting kind of hot over here again. But now it's fine. So when it's all burned down, we'll go through and get all the tin that was out, basically what was on the roof, and some other little pieces of metal, and get them hauled out of here, scrap, and then probably end up burying all this because it's gonna be full of nails, and then figure out what we want to do with it then. But yeah, there's a little bit of excitement there. Almost started to panic, but yeah. With that being said, thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe, and we'll hang on. We'll see you on the next one.